Hi, hi. Welcome to the fifth episode of Conversations with Stephen. Yeah, I'm so happy today. I'm so happy today. My name is Stephen Izu, and this is a place where young people talk about the life of young people. Thank you for deciding to listen to this podcast. Thank you so much. Yeah, today in this episode, we are talking about childhood. Okay, yeah, I know we are young adults and we have a lot of stuff on our minds. So we have things to think about. But today we are going to take a trip back in time to when we were younger. Yeah. I have a wonderful young lady with me today. Not physically with me though. Yeah. Her name is Chipo. She's a wonderful person with a good heart. And she's a wonderful woman. Like she's a wonderful woman. Intellectually wise, Chipo is a perfect role model for young females. If I have a younger sister, of course I have two younger sisters, but if I want to give a role model to any young upcoming teenage girl, Chipo is a perfect role model, intellectually wise. She's a two-time TEDx EMU speaker, she's a writer, she's a blogger, amongst many other things. But I can go on and on, about what she has achieved so far in her life with her time. But today, because we are not going to be talking as intellectuals, we are going to be talking as humans. So I'll just save that for another day. But of course, I'll leave links in the description to where you can find out more about her and get inspired. So if you want to know more about Chipo, yeah, there's a link in the description. Thank you so much. Chipo, you're welcome to Conversations with Stephen.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I'm glad to be here.
Today we're going to talk about childhood, and yeah, I know we are adults, but when we talk about childhood, many people see it at that time of our life when we had little or no idea of what life is. Like a child running up and down, has no idea of what life really means, always happy, eats, play, and all of that. That may be honestly correct. But personally, I feel there's a lot to the world of children, and I hope that this little session today we'll find out the significance of our childhood to our entire life. Yeah. So, Chipo, I'm going to be asking you some questions, if you don't mind.
No problem. That's absolutely fine.
Okay. My first question is quite it's okay. Let me just say it. Chipo, what year were you born?
What?
When were you born?
1993, the 19th of March.
Wow, that's cool. That's a long time.
Not that long.
Yeah. Oh yeah, not that long. What was childhood like in the early 90s and around 1991, 1992, 3, 4, 5, 6, then into the late 90s and early 2000s? What was childhood like in that time?
Well, I only remember most of my childhood from the 2000s, because from 93 to about 99, I was still a baby. So I didn't really remember much. But as far as I remember, childhood was okay. I'd play outside, play with friends, go to school. I wasn't watching that much TV. So yeah, as far as I can remember, that's what, from about 90, because 93 I was only born, 94 I was 1, 95 I was 2. So I think I'd only start remembering my childhood from about 1998, 99. Yeah.
So what can you remember about your childhood? Like, how was it like that? Like the environment, the way the world was, and yeah, what was the view of a child in the early 90s, in the late 90s, yeah, in the mid early 90s, yeah?
I think back then my only goal was, to come home and play. It was a very free childhood. There wasn't as much technology. I lived in a neighborhood with lots of other children. So yeah, it was mainly an active life, quite free. So that's basically what it was like.
That's nice. Did you have any younger or older siblings growing up?
Younger, I have a younger brother.
Mm. What was it like to okay, how old okay, let me put the question this way. Um when was he born?
1996.
Okay, good. So how was it like to grow up with him?
Oh, it was fun. He was just the two of us. So
Mm.
well, of course, we'd fight here and there, but we were friends most of the time. We would spend most of our time together. We did everything together. So yeah, yeah, that was how it was.
That's cool. Well, was there looking back at your childhood, was there anything about you that you feel distinguished you from your mates or and your friends in any way when you were a child?
I think I've always known that I was a very creative person.
Mm.
So that was one thing that showed me that I was a bit different from my other friends, that I was more creative and more into trying to find ways to do different things.
So
Yeah.
from time to time, you found out that in the area of creativity you are different, way different from your mates when you were a child.
I don't know if I'd say very different because we all had different tastes and everything, but yeah, maybe okay, we can say that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you when you began to have an idea of the reality of this world, like how real and personal and realistic this world is? How old were you
Probably
when
when
it
I was
dawned on you?
8.
8.
Yeah, I was 8.
Oh.
Because that's when that whole terrorist attack happened in America, and that's when I realized, oh, there are very bad things that happen in this world.
Interesting. Okay, let's talk about the transition period. Like, how do you cope with your transition from childhood to teenagehood, like between the ages of 12 to 14, like when you're leaving childhood and entering into teenagehood? How were you able to cope with your life at that time? Was it difficult for you, or it was quite
It was a bit difficult because there were a lot of changes that happened at the time, but I was able to find my way around it.
Okay, so you were able to deal with the changes positively.
Yes.
Cool. I like the way you're straight to the point. Most of my previous guests, no, honestly, my previous guest on this podcast, I've asked you almost 6 questions, and my previous guests, when I ask one question, sometimes they take 3 minutes to answer one question. So we have a lot of time. but
Okay. If you
yeah,
want me
so
to add,
no. Actually, that's I want to comment that actually it's nice that you decide to just go straight to the point. Yeah, so it saves time. Thank you so much.
true.
Yeah, but I still have a few more questions to ask you.
No problem.
Okay, so um retrospectively, like looking back to the early stages of your life, do you think excuse me do you think our lives as individuals in general now depends on our childhood
Yeah.
or early teen years?
Very much. It very much does. A lot of the things we experience, our childhood forms our beliefs and how we respond to things later in life. And it's something even psychologists have proven that, what you experience in your upbringing is something that will affect how you are as a human, as an adult.
So how do we get the best out of our childhood? I mean, we are young adults now, so if not adults already. I mean, we are already adults. So, but is there a way we can look back at our childhood, at our lives when we were children, and take some positives from it?
Definitely, we can do it now. Especially if you've had a difficult childhood, you're allowed to acknowledge that, what you went through was difficult. But if there are any positive things you can find, it's good to hold on to those because it will help you even get over the the painful things that you may have gone through before.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Chipo.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, do you have any final words? Like, I'm done with asking you the questions I had to ask you. Do you have any final words? Maybe piece of encouragement? Yeah. Yes, it's quite quick because you were straight to the point in all the questions.
Oh my goodness! Now I feel like I haven't said enough.
No. Okay, let's be frank. What you've said is so much. It is so much. I'm sure that those who are going to listen to this are going to learn so much. So, just if you have anything to say additionally, yeah, you can speak. Yeah.
I guess besides that, I think it's good to take time to reflect on who we are as people right now. Reflect on our habits, our behavior, and figure out what is healthy, what's not healthy, and where it came from. And then look through our childhood if we can. If you can't do it by yourself, then I always encourage that people find the assistance of mental health professionals if you can afford it, or you find free resources, because healing from your childhood and understanding the things that you did in your childhood and how they've led to what you are now will really help you carve a clearer path for you in the future. Yeah.
Okay, let me just add one more question. In the next few years, 5 to 10 years, most of us are going to be fathers and mothers. I mean, married with children. So, what do you advise us to do when it comes to training our children?
I wouldn't be sure. I would have to think about that one because I'm not a mom. But okay. I think one of the best things that you can do, I'd advise with parents, is to listen to their children, to really listen to them and create a space for them to open up and talk about all the things, both good and bad and silly, because that creates a channel of trust.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much, Chipo.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much to you too.
Okay. If you're listening to this point, thank you so much. I hope you've learned a lot today. I hope you learned a lot. I definitely, me personally, like me, Steven, I learned a lot. Maybe we didn't spend much time, but I learned so much. And I'll definitely listen to this again, as I always do to the previous, as I've always done for the previous episodes. I'll listen to this one, to this episode again and again and again, because there were a lot of things that Chipo said which I need to hear again. So Chipo talked about her early childhood, and just briefly she talked about life in the early 90s and how she had to deal with growing up with her younger brother, and how we can make the best out of our childhood even though we are adults now. So I hope you learned a lot, and if you learned a lot, then there is somebody else who also need to learn. So feel free to share this podcast, to share this episode with your friends, and let them also learn from this, just as you have learned from this. If you have any question for me, any suggestion or topic, or you have a feedback, I would really, really love to get your feedbacks. Send me an email. Send an email to cwsteven20@gmail.com. Let me spell that out. cwstephen20@gmail.com. Chipo, thank you so much for coming on Conversations with Steven.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Okay, that's all for today, guys. Thank you once again. Bye-bye, and see you next time.